Well, hello and welcome to season 2 of 2021-22. I'm Kate Bates, joined by Anna Russell. And Anna, we've got a huge series ahead. We've got 8 rounds. Tonight is the very first night. We head to Makuri Islands. Bit of a baptism by fire for our riders this season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw the Prem racing this morning, but whoa, that was intense. It is some short racing. There was a lot of tactics, though, I've got to say. There are a lot of things people were trying out. So we're in for some exciting racing as well. We haven't seen ZRL on this Neokyo course, which is amazing. It's just over 24 kilometers. There's a lot of sprinting that we've got and a little climb there thrown into the mix.
Yeah, well, we do have 5 first across the line segments. We've got 2 fastest through segments. There will be a whole lot of action because in 24.6K, when you do have 5 different points to hit, I don't imagine anybody will be turning up on the start line without a bit of a warm-up for tonight. Anna, and look, there's some familiar faces from last season, but we have also had some of our big names move up to Premier League. So we might see some new faces this week.
I think we will. I mean, we have seen those hitters coming through into Premier League from the women's crew. We don't actually have an A division tonight, but we did have a really great battle last season with WTRL ladies, Team Aero, but I saw Team Aero was crushing it in Prems. And we've got a Team Aero men's team out there as well with one of your faves. I think it's Mon Rich that I can see on the start line.
Oh, I like that. Look, I was a little bit disappointed and proud as well to see Ben Hill and Mark O'Brien move up to Prem, but they do always bring through a whole lot of talent. So Aero is one group we can definitely rely on for some action, Anna. Now, I'm hoping that with week 1 of this season, you've also brought your whiteboard along so we can do a little bit of quick analysis on the way. And given the course is essentially Neon Tokyo, thank you, Martin, in production, for letting me know what Neokyo stood for. Anna, I'm kind of thinking we might have to have a little bit of a look at the fashion tonight as well. So we'll jump down to the pictures
We've got
when
them
we
now,
can.
Kate. We've got them now. The men are hot
Fantastic.
starting. We might go in pretty quick, actually, because they will have their first sprint very quick into this race. So let's head over into the action of the men's racing. Race number 1, I'm so excited.
So excited. All right, let's go down and take a look at how this is playing out. They have just headed out on course for this race today, 24.6 kilometres. What is that, about 16 miles, I'm thinking, from my rough calculation there. Might need to use the calculator for that. Don't think in miles too often. But it is clear as day that they have set out with a little bit of pace. This is going to be an exceptionally fast race, and a faster than we have seen in a long time. Last season, we saw a couple of longer and more drawn out over hour efforts, but this won't be too far over the 30-minute mark, I don't think.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I think looking at the race we saw today, the men were well under 30 minutes. And it's just this fast moving pack, mostly flat, although a little bit of undulations, which is where we saw some attacks in the Prem division. We're sort of looking at what have we got here? It's about 3 kilometers in. We hit the first Castle Park sprint reverse. Now, we do have a mixture of first across line and fastest time segment. So not all sprints are fastest time segment. So just the first one is first across line. So there'll be huge positioning here to get people on board and not dropping off. And then when you've got fastest time segment, which is the next sprint at 7.8K, very fast after that one, people will be really dropping those drafting power-ups trying to get in. But we are seeing an attack off the front here. Pretty early doors now for this one.
That is a big move from Ross there to be the first that went out there. Sorry, it is Haig from Zed's son, Wild Dog. I like that. Oh, Anna, I forgot. Another season means that we get some fantastic new team names. Rich Law, glad to see him back. We saw a lot of him last season. I just missed what he said. I saw planning. And when Rich Law says planning something, I think everybody should possibly take a little bit of notice. Great to see Simeon Green back as well. Some familiar faces. Now, he's got 4 seconds. Anna, you reckon the magic is always around the 15-second mark before we even consider whether someone can stay away. On such a fast course, I think this will be exceptionally hard to really get over that 4-5 second mark.
Yeah, this could be a bit of a team tactic as opposed to a sort of gung-ho, breaking off in the first kilometre and trying to take it all the way to the end. This is that Zensun Wild Dog team. And yeah, I think this is probably just a bit of a team tactic, although they are coming up quickly. Sorry, we've got miles on the screen, not kilometres. So we are looking pretty quickly, if you can do your math, to coming up to the sprint relatively fast. You can see in the mini map in the top right corner, there is a big green dot. That is the sprint coming up. And the pack is actually breaking up a little bit behind. We've got a chase here from Marsh, from Aero, followed by ZWC. One of our favourites every season comes into this Apac Men's A division. Always seem to have a great race. So loving seeing them coming in again.
I do. I mean, over the years, we've had some real standouts and favies amongst this. Last year, last season as it was, I was kind of daring anybody to perhaps outdo Mark O'Brien. Now he's gone up to Prems. They get to play with that. And we just get the new crop of aero. Ryan Marsh is the first to put his hand up, and he's giving it a good old crack. But I have to say, good for Garth Haig. He set the pace out there. Now, just quietly, if this was in the real world, Anna, these cars on course would make me a little bit nervous. Now, he's through that first intermediate sprint. It is only a first across the line sprint as opposed to fastest through segment. So he should temper his effort, get those points, but he doesn't need to do it by more than a metre. The group will come back on now, headed by Simeon Green. Another very familiar name. Great to see him. And there's Monrich sitting in third wheel, Anna.
That was extremely well played by Aero, I've got to say. They kind of took a little bit of a leaf out of the book of Kristen Kolczynski's playbook this morning, which was just to go full noise attack. Maybe he's got a bit more of a diesel engine, take the gap, and then go in for the sprint. I mean, that was phenomenal. We're seeing a few burritos being dropped here. Now, talking about the power-ups, I'm not sure that the burrito is really that useful at all in this race, just because the speeds are so high that by the time you drop that and kind of stop the draft, you've sort of moved past that person and you're already into a kind of an area where you can draft. So I'm not sure the burrito is a great one to work with, but the drafting one in the aero, which we're seeing here, dropped as well. Absolutely great. These guys are coming through this twisty turny part. Saw some of the best tactics I've ever seen on Zwift in the recent Legion's Crit. I don't know if you saw that, Kate. It's a great YouTube video on it, where a group came through this area right here. Full 5-team breakaway.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't see it. I might take a look now. We're always very interested in kind of the emerging tactics, aren't we? And I actually think that that's something, Anna, that has stuck out to me through these seasons. We've renumbered them. So this is season 2 of the 21-22 year. But we have had a couple of years of this now. So we've seen quite a lot play out in terms of the evolution of tactics. I don't know, maybe, Anna, they all got themselves an Anna Russell whiteboard special. I mean, I've been looking out for it in office work, so I haven't found it yet, but maybe in the future. But every time you say, well, maybe they're the sacrificial lamb or maybe it's team tactics, I think the first season everybody was just learning what to do both as athletes and also in game. And I really see that from the very first race in the seasons now, it is so sharp and these teams are absolutely all over it and obviously communicating really well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And we're just seeing the segment points popping up there on screen as well as they're approaching this next sprint, which is going to come up very quickly. Looks like Monrich took that out with the first across line points. There are some fastest time segment points showing there for that sprint. Not sure if that's quite right, as it was a first across the line sprint.
I think it's the alley. If that was the alley sprint, that should work. I mean, that's what we understand, that the alley sprint is also that fastest through segment. Look, there's a lot of names that are already up on screen, Anna, that are quite familiar to us and have been racing for quite a long time. It is always such a factor, isn't it? Forgetting just their pure numbers, and we can dive through Zwift Power and take a look at all of that. But there's some of these athletes who just race really well. It's kind of that X factor, and you don't see it in Zwift Power necessarily in terms of just pure numbers. You just know it, that they're quite savvy. And there's some of those names that are popping up already and sitting quite near the front. It's great to see as well, like a bit of a regeneration in the aero crew. So some new names in that team that we can watch out for. And
you're actually going to... like this, Kate. Do you know who I saw riding for Aero in Prem Division? Was our good friend Mark Bosted, who, remember I said didn't have a sprint to
Ah,
save himself, was actually
you,
sprinting fairly well
yeah,
in the Prem
yes.
League. So good on him. I do just want to note we're just having a few issues getting into the women's race. There isn't actually an A category there. We would be following the C, so we'll be trying to get eyes on that. But for the moment, we'll follow all the action of this men's race as they will shortly be coming up to their next sprint. They really don't get a recovery. And although in saying that,
No.
we're watching here Marsh from Aero. That's a relatively low heart rate and a very low cadence.
Well, it is. And I suppose if we look at that, we just have to consider, um, where he's at in his preparation. If he is all over it and getting ready some events coming up ahead. Remembering that Aussie Nationals are next week, Anna, or this weekend, in fact. Oh, my goodness, that's come up quickly. So we've got some pretty big summer racing here in Australia, and a lot of the athletes are in pretty good form. Of course, it's always a bit of a turnaround in the winter, isn't it, when they're just slugging away in their garage for most of it. But in the summer, often we see a lot of these riders actually have some pretty good form. So Marsh may just be, pretty comfortable sitting in there. The low cadence, that's curious. I always think, Anna, and, I'm really interested in your experience because you run as well. So you've got a triathlon background, and I think runners come at this from a different angle. But usually when I see a lower cadence, I'm concerned about how they're going because it is much harder on the muscles, and it is much more efficient if you can be above certainly above 85 cadence is what I would consider quite fluid pedal style. But what about you? I mean, what are you comfortable sitting at? It might be a little bit different for multi-sport athletes.
Oh, it's so interesting you ask, Kate, I've got to say, because I have spent my postnatal fitness period getting back up to speed, really working on my cadence. So as a triathlete, you're right, I would have sort of rocked that 80 RPM maybe. Now I can kind of stick to sort of 95 to 100 when I want to. And you know why I've done that? And you'll be proud of me, really working on that sprint.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I think that's perfectly timed, Anna.
Yeah.
Work on your fitness and your sprint at the same time. Speaking of which, we do have
Ooh.
another one coming up. We're coming up to the Castle Park Sprint Forward here. And Simeon Green, he's hit out early. Is he going to hang on? This
Oh,
will be pretty close. He won't get it. Randall was the
no.
first over the top. But Hands and
Story.
Story took
He
that
could
out.
take that.
NZ
Oh,
Pro.
amazing. That is
Oh,
the that story. Talking about endurance athletes, he is a Olympic rower, twice to the Olympics, I do believe. I have to look at the replay of that because that was extremely tight between John Story and that Aero rider. I mean, we've got NZ Bro here going up against the Australian Esport Racing Organisation. This is just a good old Anzac battle, don't you think?
yeah, I'm just waiting for another Sam Lindsay to come along for you, Anna, because
John might be that person.
yeah, he has been the pinnacle of our NZ talent, or maybe not the one pinnacle, but he's certainly impressed us a lot in the earlier seasons. So see how John's story goes. I am now, after that comment and discussion about cadence, I'm now very eagerly watching his cadence because as a rower, he would just have incredible quad and hamstring and glute strength. But maybe, he needs to work a little bit on this higher cadence because I think that could be the secret for John's story to take it up to Prem League level if he's got such a big engine on him.
Exactly. And just looking behind them there, you can see up on the screen on the right hand as we go through these rock formations. It's such a twisty, turny course here. There's a group dropped off the back, well and truly gone. So this is why we see Crofts here and Story really pushing up around that 5 watts per kg, 6 watts per kg, little sprint. This is just absolutely relentless. This is not how I kind of saw this course playing out. I thought people would maybe just relax a little. This is insane. 10 watts a kg. They do have a sprint just around this hairpin. And those people who got dropped off, no way are they catching back on here.
No, this is so fast, isn't it? And again, we're looking at miles per hour. But if you amp that up to K to kilometres per hour. It is pretty fast. These guys, another sprint here now. This is the tower sprint forward. This leaves only one remaining sprint, I might add, Anna, which is the rooftop. And that's a climb technically. Not that it's much of a climb, but it is a climb. And that also has the fastest through segment. This is now their opportunity to, look, can we say, kind of recover on the go, because there've been 4 sprints in that first 10 kilometres of the 24.9. So now they've got another 14 kilometres odd to, let's not call it chill out, but with only one intermediate sprint amongst that, rather than the 4 in the first 10K. You can imagine that some heart rates are pretty high. We're looking at so there, 176 BPM. That's more what we're expecting, isn't it? When we were commenting before on the heart rate of 150 and thinking maybe it's summer form. I'd be very surprised if anybody's sitting at the 150 beats per minute mark. And a quick little glance at Zwift Power, Anna, says we've got a few people in the box.
Absolutely. And just who we saw there coming through, little call out. We had Aaron Bleakley, a great cyclist, I think still based down in Cambridge. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. He came through, I think, in second, just behind Notzi, who we're following here, 2 NZ Bro Frodo riders. So they're doing very, very well already, lapping up some of these points. We'll get the segment points on screen when we can. But a little call out to Aaron Bleakley. He... You'll love my geekiness now, Kate. I am on a Zwift PC page. So what's the optimal PC setup to run Zwift? And that's what I've been on. And he was actually giving me some great advice. I drew a little diagram of all the things I wanted to look at. And as we're coming up to this 4th sprint, all these power-ups being dropped. But anyway, call out to Aaron Bleakley. He has been helping me geek out big time.
Oh, excellent. I feel like there's some like gaming geeks with little love hearts in their eyes, like emojis. Hearing you talk about that, Anna. That's something special.
I do want to call out this one because I actually do not think, and Martin, he might be able to tell me if, oh no, that does count. There is a secret little sprint in here. So that was Tower Sprint. The next thing, we've got the KOM. There is a little sprint banner in here where you don't actually go over the green line. So it looks like it's a sprint, but it's not quite. Be careful, for a lot of people in the upcoming races get caught out by that. But that was a legit sprint, Tower Sprint coming through. Probably one of the trickiest ones, I think. A bit undulating, 300 meters and a hidden finish line. So that was quite hard.
The group is coming back together a little bit. We've had some of the stragglers manage to muscle their way back. They are under the 30 miles per hour mark in terms of speed. And this is the first time they've even settled for a moment. Look at this. I'm very happy to see Mashed Potato back.
Put him on.
Oh, he's one of our favourites. I wonder if he puts a little bit of garlic in there. Love a bit of good garlic mash. And I'm also hoping that it's not like Deb. I don't know. Do they have that in New Zealand? Like instant mashed potato, where you just add water?
Yeah, we have that. I don't really know what it's called, but it's
well, it's called Deb in Australia, and probably shows my vintage as a 80s baby that I know what Deb instant mashed potato is. But look, I'm hoping that our mashed potato here maybe has some garlic and added salt, and comes from actual real potatoes.
Now tell me here, Kate, what would the Deb do for your glucose monitor?
Oh, Deb would not do good things for my glucose monitor. We were just, to anybody thinking, what on earth are they geeking out about now? We were unpacking the effect of different foods on our blood glucose levels. And then, the next part of that conversation, Anna, is, of course, to unpack the impact that may have on training. And I have to say, my sister had her glucose monitor on at altitude the other day, and that was a whole interesting experiment in itself. So we'll unpack that over the next 8 weeks, shall we? So anybody following along can get a bit of an insight into that. What I can tell you, we were talking about those burritos earlier. A burrito would not be an ideal pre-race food, Anna. It probably doesn't come as a surprise, but I think when Chipotle sponsored the team, there are a whole lot of people eating Chipotle at the end or the beginning of bike rides, thinking it maybe have a bit of secret sauce in it. And I think we can park that one. Now, as we've been waffling, Jordan Lewis, he's sick of the waffle. He's made a move off the front. He's only at 3 seconds. This is kind of the only gaps we've been seeing thus far today. But if we do cast our eye over to that right of screen, he is sitting a bit higher than the people chasing. So it may start to open up a bit if it keeps going like this.
So what he's done is he's done a Sherpa Dave recon special. So Sherpa Dave writes notes. Check out his YouTube channel and Cy Bradley's. They have great notes about each of the races. He said at the 13K mark, there's a 4% grade up for 200 meters. A great place to attack before the climb. Now, this is great from Jordan Lewis. Unfortunately, there's a big pack behind. And what we saw in the women's race and the Prem race today and the men's is this climb. It's hard. It pitches up to 6%, but there's so many draftable flat parts that you can just get caught up and swamped. And now the downhill of this is probably one of the most dangerous parts of this entire course. So this is where we've got a bit of a, would you call it a hero maneuver? I mean, it could be good. I mean, Zed-Sun is shaking it up a bit. I like it. I mean, it's 6 seconds already. Is he going to be able to hold this all the way to the top of the climb with all those hitters behind him? Not sure.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a roll of the dice that perhaps he's not going to get snake eyes for this effort. But Zed-Sun have done a really good job of animating it thus far. I'll definitely say that. It's been a bit surprising to me, given the frequency of those first four sprints, Anna. They were within the first, 10, 12 kilometres of racing, that we didn't see any really significant and organised attacks from any teams over the top. I almost thought after our third sprint, which was the Castle Park sprint forward, that Aero were getting a little bit organised. In fact, I think perhaps they left their run a little bit late. So that wasn't what happened at all, but that does surprise me. Now he goes through the banner. Anna, is that our banner?
Yeah, that's the fakey banner.
Fakey banner.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that is not a sprint segment, but you will get a power up. So as he has now moved to a 9 second, this is dangerous now. I don't know what that group behind is doing. They're all hanging around the 3 watts a kg. This one is going 6 watts a kg. He's going to be hitting a climb pretty soon. And this is danger time for these guys. If it gets out to 15 seconds, I mean, they may be really, really good riders, but this guy's going pretty all in. I mean, 186 beats a minute. He's right at threshold. Not sure what the, let's have a look at someone in the group behind, 154. So these guys are really relaxing. You can see them spread across the road. That's with the new draft, a great way to show if the pace has come off the pack. A burrito being dropped at the back of the pack is absolutely useless. Not sure quite what that
he
happened.
just heard what we were talking about, Anna. He was like, I don't need the weight of this burrito. This is going to help me. I'll just jettison it as we go. A really good observation, though, that there are 2 ways for a break to succeed, and often when they marry up beautifully, it's when that actually works, and that's, of course, when the leader is producing those consistently high powers, but helped significantly if that chasing bunch also backs off at the same time, and that gap can really open out significantly. I'm seeing Seb there for Evo, and for a second I thought it might have been our Seb from Beast Mode. But he's got a French flag, so I don't think it is him. But I got excited for a second there, and I thought he might have been back and racing with us. But I am very happy to see some of the names in the Aero crew. They're obviously giving some of the guys with really good horsepower a little bit of a run and trying out a few combinations. And Luke McKenzie in there, he's one of the more experienced guys. He's pretty hardcore. I think he'd be a great team leader. And I've also noticed Brett Hickford and Ben Pitt, another 2 of the Aero riders. And like I mentioned, Anna, it's summer in Australia. I think there's a song about that. But the form is pretty good. So they're hitting the bottom of the KOM sprint now.
Yeah,
so now this is a genuine fastest through segment. And
first across line. And look at this, 14 seconds back to that group. And this is absolute risk for that group behind, because look how many twists and turns there are going up these rooftops. I mean, you're twisting and turning the whole way out. He is out of sight. I mean, they can see that time gap, but they can't see him. So really, really smart here from Jordan Lewis to take that early attack. I wondered if it would be a strategy that would work. I know our Sherpa Dave said it was a good option, and look at this, it is playing out. So those who are watching and racing in the coming days, me being one of them, actually back into the ACAT racing, just as a little shout out to myself. That's probably not the best thing, is it? Oh gosh,
there,
that sounds terrible, but I'm pretty excited. So there we go. But this is a great effort. Look, even now he was riding up to that 6.5 watts a kg, and this group behind, they're not catching that fast. You can just see them coming around in that top map around that hairpin. You may get a sight of them just coming around before he hits the next corner, but he is
I don't know.
absolutely, no, you can't see. Just a little Tron there, you saw just across there to the right.
He's a little out of sight, out of mind, but not completely. Great job from Jordan Lewis. That gap has come back down, but he certainly has taken that first across the line. Points, he's riding for Zed-Sun Hercules. If you haven't seen that movie, you've got to Google it, Anna. It's a very funny kind of early 90s movie, Hercules Returns. At any rate, isn't it always good when we haven't had a chat for a while, Anna? And
I know.
It's the first race back and we can't keep on topic. But that's my fault. I acknowledge that. Jordan Lewis, it is great to see him and the Hercules crew out there. Now, interestingly, he's only a level 26 Zwifter, and I say only because that means he doesn't have access to even some of the fastest equipment and perhaps hasn't been racing in the Zwift world for too long. But that was really smart, really savvy, and really well done. And he carried it off. So it wasn't just a smart move. It was also tactically
I've got to say, Kate, maybe not smart. Look at this. He's just getting absolutely flooded. He is gone.
He is, but he's got. Oh, I thought he'd gone over the KON there.
No, these little banners are just pretty sort of distractions along the top. It makes you think you're there and you're not quite there. It's quite heartbreaking, actually. And wow, we was talking about how great that was. And wow, we've got the ZWC Jordan. Boys and Bleakley, Aaron Bleakley, the PC master, coming up close behind. This is a good look.
He's who you geek out with on the weekends. This is. Okay, so perhaps that didn't work out how I thought because I was getting a little bit distracted by the shiny lights. We can see the banner now because they will do this U-turn. Go through the banner, bend pit for aero.
That was close.
Oh, I think he got it over Mashed Potato, but Mashed Potato certainly gave it a good crack there to come over the top. Few gaps opening here. What are they going to do with this, Anna? What would you and your whiteboard say to do with these gaps?
Like I said, this is, I would say, the riskiest part of the whole course. It is so easy to get dropped on this part. I don't know why, but this is probably the easiest hill to get dropped on. I think it's because it kind of goes a really steep downhill, and then if it's a big pack, they've got a little bit of draft benefit on the flats as they go along. And as you can see, it's getting strung out. There's a little sort of tight group of about 15 forming at the front, and then about 10 a little bit further back than that. And the ones behind, look at this, you can see orange numbers on the right-hand side. They're sprinting to get back into this group. I mean, after this 1.5K descent, we've got about 1.4K of flat-ish kind of terrain, then a little descent, and then we're heading into that arcade, and then it's a sprint after that to the line. So there's not a lot of tarmac for these guys to get back on turns. You can see a little group just catching on to the tail now, but there's a group a little further behind that. I don't think they'll make it on.
I just literally, Anna, Googled who is Mashed Potato on Zwift.
Oh, nice.
Because I'll have to sift through the very interesting results later. There's some things you should just never Google. But I am very curious about Mashed Potato. An American located in Thailand is the only info that his Zwift profile is giving me that is useful. I'll get onto that later. Geez, they're belting through here, aren't they? Now, it is crazy. Downhill. It is certainly a downhill section, but we can see on the right of screen just how spread out it all is. They don't have too far left to race. And from now, it is a lot about conservation. Once they hit the bottom of this climb, Anna, it's only about 4K to the finish. They've got about 15 of them in this group. There'd certainly be some people taking a drink and getting ready for this to come back together, because look at these groups bit by bit reforming.
Oh, yeah, this is impressive for this group that we're just seeing catching on now. That's very hard work from them. That might have burnt the legs a bit for that final sprint. That visor of the one leading that group definitely slowed them down from an aero perspective. So that may be why they took a little bit of time to catch back on. But back in here now, about 30. I do want to shout out to the Evo crew. I actually joined in with one of their sort of interval rides over the Christmas period. Really high quality. It was awesome. I mean, it was supposed to be an hour and a half. I did half an hour and had to quietly disappear off Zwift because it was very hard. But it was great crew of people and really, really nice workouts. I know they have them quite often during the week. So if you do see them, really good. So get on there and support the Evo crew. Always love that hot magenta kit. I always have to say magenta. It is not just pink. It's
like T-Mobile. We all wore magenta, not hot pink. Jan Ulrich didn't rock around France in hot pink, Anna.
Oh, exactly.
And
I do just want to throw something to those watching. Is we've got a mix of two bikes. I'm trying to decide what to ride tomorrow. I was going to go the Specialized Venge S-Works with that DT Swiss disc wheel, but then I'm seeing some Trons as well, and I always like the look of the Trons in Neokyo. It kind of just aesthetically looks pretty beautiful. I mean, what do you think, those watching live? What do you think about the bike choice tomorrow? I think I will stick with the disc, to be honest.
Ooh, I like the disc on this course simply from the sheer volume of sprints that there are out there. And Anna, also, we will be back in metric next week, but we are in miles this week. And, you know, quite frankly, it's just to mix it up and keep everybody guessing a little bit. Not really. We are still working through that. Now, I've just ducked into some comments on YouTube, Anna. Richard Law still recovering from COVID. The poor bugger. It kind of explains why he hasn't been further forward from early on. And I guess whatever that comment was possibly related to that. So we're wishing the absolute best to you, Richard. Double masks, stay away from people, all the very best. Yeah, that's it's a bit of a tough one. I know for a lot of our community are still trying to avoid people to avoid the COVID, but we wish everybody well who's been impacted by that, of course.
Did want to also shout out to Lam Kong in here watching the race. So that's awesome. I mean, Lam Kong, another fan favourite, saying exciting sprint. It was. I mean, which one, Lam? I mean, those four sprints, it was like boom, 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 boom. I mean, I'm sweating here just trying to keep abreast of everything that's going on and keeping eyes on who's sprinting. They are full noise, and it's a tough course. I mean, we can see the heart rate's not too high, which is, I like seeing that a little bit. It makes me feel better about the racing that's happening tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, 4 sprints, it's basically just VO2 off threshold. And we all know how fun that's inverted commas that is.
Yeah, it is a really tough course. I mean, I do think that if you have had the chance to do any crit racing, which a lot of the Aussies do at this time of year, through the summer, then it is perfect for the kind of form that they may have going through there. I don't know how much the season falls in for people who are, for example, racing in Thailand. I'm not sure whether they do a lot of IRL racing over there at the moment, as they are doing here in Australia. But certainly for crit season, this feels like a really appropriate way to kick off. We just had the Bay Crits in Australia, Anna, which are the big criterium series in the Australian summer every year. So some big results there.
This is probably my favourite part of the course, I've got to say, Kate, through this arcade. I mean, it's just an absolute candy shop for the eyes. Amazing. So many little Easter eggs in there as well, like the new Tron bike, which we may actually be able to get in real life, which is on my Christmas list for whenever that comes out. And these guys twisting and turning. This is where we saw an earlier take. They've only got about 400 meters to go now. It is a extremely hard sprint to the line. We're seeing their power out's been dropped now. This is almost invisible to see the finish line. We're seeing B. Ryan here from Aero opening up a huge gap already coming through these streets now. He'll come round this left, a little right-hander, and round these corners, boom, 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 and then you'll see the finish just when you get there. John Story coming through again, bleakly over the top. Looks like it could have been Mashed Potato taking that out over Bleakley and Story. They are bombing it for NZ Bro. A little bit of an early move there for Aero, which didn't quite pay off, but we'll have to have a look at the replay of that. I'll try and get that replay up on screen now, because that was going to have to see that in slow motion. Absolutely.
That was an absolute cracker. I think that Mashed Potato is certainly standing out as someone who's got some very good form. We have seen him over the years, but maybe not as dominant a sprint performance as he has been tonight. But Aaron Bleakley, you called it early, Anna. That was some pretty impressive, not just timing, but what output.
Oh, unreal. I mean, let's have a look at this. I'll try and slow it down right at these points. I'd cut you off from the Bay Crits, which I did want to talk about as well, because I haven't watched some of those. But we looked at coming through here, beautiful. Just want to shout out to the Zwift graphics team. Phenomenal. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a gaming geek, but this just looks amazing, doesn't it? But we see a Aero power up being dropped there. A couple of burritos. We saw that Aero rider coming off a little bit off the front, just around this corner. You can just see there Ryan from the Australian Esport Racing Organisation. Huge numbers very early. Look at this for timing, those racing in the coming days, because it's round this left is where it really opened up. That's where you see the huge numbers coming there. Green coming from Eurocycling, rolled over by John Story. And then we just see, if we slow it down, Mashed Potato. Look at that. We'll have to see the final results, but I think it's a funny corner sprint. I think Mashed Potato might have had it just over Bleakley with Story third. I mean, I'm excited, Kate. That was an exciting sprint.
I love it when you're excited, Anna. It's like sometimes we've got to drag you over the line of excitement. Sometimes you're like, come on, guys, get it together. Animate this. But this is an exciting one. Mashed Potato. Now, I did notice amongst all of the red, if you do, depends whether you're watching on a big screen or your phone or your iPad. But if you are on a big screen, you'd be able to make out that Mashed Potato was sprinting at over 14.5 watts per kg at his peak there. The rest of them were around the 10 watts per kg mark. Massive power that he's put out.
Oh, look at that.
1237 watt PB. That is significantly above anybody else, and a 16.9 watts per kg 15-second PB, Anna. So even if, and we can see him here at this point in the replay at 14.2 he still was over, he was still at 13.8 at the finish. And if we do pause it there, that's a perfect little analysis to see those powers. You look at them in orange, but 13.8 watts per kg right at the very finish of his sprint. That is absolutely phenomenal. Also very, very significant sprint from Bleakley there. Still over 10 in that final. If we look down a little bit, Marsh from Aero looks to me like he still had a little bit left in the tank, so maybe a little bit of timing there. Same can be said for Tristan Dimmick, because to be in the 11 to 12 watts per kg mark at that end of the sprint indicates they've still got a little bit left in the tank. But can I throw it out there? Can I ask somebody to tell me Mashed Potato's real name, like if it's not, like a closely kept held secret? Because I'm really quite curious. I mean, who knows what my Google search will bring up, Anna, but I imagine a lot of recipes.
I always think just be really careful about Googling things like, what is Mashed Potato's name? I mean, the internet is a scary place out there, and who knows what's going to come in.
Yes. Look, I think if I end up on the Silk Road, I've gotten lost. So we'll see how I go.
That is a good little kind of gaming reference there. Good job. I like that.
I'm trying. I Googled that too. Anna, while you were geeking out, I thought, no, I didn't.
I'll start tagging you in these PC chats, and I'll really blow your mind there. We will just wait on these results. It is the first race of the series, so we always know, and the first broadcast of the series, so we always know there's a little bit of tweaking to just get all these results and segments in. And keep in mind, it was a very short race with 4 lots of segment points plus the KOM. So Martin is working feverishly in the background to get the results. We'll see if they pop up. While we wait for those, Kate, we could talk through just what's coming up in the season 2 schedule. So I've got up on screen because I have been looking at what kind of training I should be doing, to be honest. We started with that's what it's for. Neokyo All-Nighter, that was what we hit up just now. Next week, London Classic, absolute classic course.
That is a hard one. And look, I do remember so clearly the dominating rides that Aero did have the last time we were in London. Ben Hill, I believe it was. It could have been Sam Hill. It was a Hill affair, and not just because of the course, Anna, but they set it on fire. There is only, the really interesting thing I think is there is only one fastest through line and first across the line segment in that nearly 40 kilometres worth of racing. And so that is just so hugely different from the profile of today. We can also very pleasingly say, Anna, that the Ghost is back as a power-up. We've ditched the burrito for next week. And I always find the Ghost, I think it's the most fun power-up.
Yeah, it's really fun for the commentators because you can see the person who's ghosted, but you actually, as a rider, it's very hard to know whether someone's had a dropout or they've ghosted you. So as a commentator, love it. Ask me again after I've raced with it. I'm not entirely sure, unless I have it. I'll love it if I have it. Race number 3, New York Park Perimeter. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not a New York course fan. I always find it so punchy. That's why it's so good that it's the UCI World Championship course out there in New York. I'm just a shocker on that course. It's up and down and up and down and up and down. You just can't get a rhythm.
It is, and significantly, 506 metres of vertical climbing over the just shy of 40 kilometres worth of racing. That is a lot of up. Now, on that week, we're ditching the Ghost we just talked about. The burrito's not welcome until about week 5, but we are bringing in the Anvil. Anna, that's going to be a really interesting one on that course because a lot of the climbers who do excel on that course, they're a little bit lighter. Sometimes that advantage is really taken away on the descents by some of the riders who, let's call them, heavier in stature, or we could just say, like me, they can catch up on the descents there. So the Anvil kind of equals that out. And after those first 3 weeks, Anna, we're back to a team time trial to really test out how everyone's feeling about their teammates after a couple of rides.
That's where we'll see the teams that turn up with, the minimum required, and they're sort of like, I can just handle you guys for this period of time. And then the teams who turn up with 6 and are just all guns blazing, DS on charge, That's we'll see the teams that love each other and have become friends and the ones who haven't. But after that, back to Mercury Islands, and this is the Temples and Towers course. I've ridden this now a few times and I absolutely love it. Just phenomenal.
I thought you might say I absolutely hate it. And I was like, geez, it's not a friendly one for you this time, is it?
Love it. I got to say, it's because, I don't know how much of this new sort of Mercury Islands map you've ridden, but the going from the Neokyo Neon and then riding through a tunnel into this sort of glade of cherry blossoms and beautiful trees. You can see the cherry blossoms behind me. You can see Neokyo behind you. It's just sort of, it's a feast for the eyes. Love it.
It is. Like you said earlier, the designers have done an exceptionally good job in game with this world. It is really interesting and beautiful to ride through, and I think has reinvigorated a lot of people's experiences within the Zwift world. We will get those results when we can.
They're here.
They're here. Oh, let's take a look through this.
Let's head over to the men's category A results coming up now.
All right, let's take a look at the men that we just watched. These guys are legends. Mashed Potato, Evo Barbarians. Big shout out to you. If you don't tell us your name, we will start inventing different ones for you. Aaron Bleakley, NZ Bro. Now, he came in. NZ Bro did a very good job of nearly getting there. John Story in second, Hendrik Knutzer sitting there in fourth. The 3 of them showing off the colours for NZ Bro Frodo. Trent Burles in fifth from the Barbarians. Simeon Green, great to see him back from Smooth as Sun. In 6, Ryan Marsh, Tristan Dimmick, Brett Hickford and Nathan Versey from the Aero Masters, taking that through 7th to 10th. Ryan Marsh, of course, with Aero Next Gen, though, so he's one of our younger riders. So he has done a sensational job. Honestly, Anna, I think that Aero are just going to keep getting stronger throughout this season because they are a new combination, as we saw the other guys move up to Premier League. So great racing from that crew, and certainly very hard earned with all of those intermediate sprints.
Exactly. Well, check out the B category. We've got Chris Benham here from the Innsbruck Ringers, Ian Manick for the WMZ Bs, Ryan Sparks again from the Bs, and look how close this racing is. All of these riders within 2 seconds. Jerome Lemmers there from Cryogen Etna, Paul Martin from the same team. AeroPress, that is a great piece of equipment to make great coffee, by the way, from Mitchell Davis there. Cameron Jose, AeroPress, or Josie, someone let me know. Mark Bernardinas from WMZ. Ilya Lesniak from HDR Ballers, and Lo Yu Ian from the Innsbruck Ringers.
All right, let's take a look at the C div here. They have had a great day out on course as well. 35 minutes for that 25K. That's also cracking. Mike Brooks took the win there. The Kiwi ahead from the Commodores, ahead of Jason Coughlin in second, Zed Sunreal. Chris Taylor also from the Commodores. Hamish Wright in 4th for the Choppers. Jason Rock in 5th for the Commodores. Jack Donner is in 6th for the Aero Bix. John Emerson in 7th for the Aerobics. In 8th, we've got Daniel Butty from the Choppers, Hughes for the Chargers in 9th, and Alex Murphy, TBR 46.5. It's the first time we've seen TBR so far on this season, so good on them for being back out there.
And finally, the Ds. Oh, doesn't look like we've got some results coming in for them. So just check out WTRL .racing to see those results. But we will head over and have a look at the women's results. And a big apologies, we didn't have the women's race up tonight. I always feel a bit gutted for that. I love following the women's racing. So we'll definitely have that next week. Just an issue getting that up on screen. But here we are with the women's results. So it's the Div 1 here. We didn't have an A category, but for the B cat, we had Iona Azhanova from Raven Bees, Michelle Bond from the AHDRL Bullets, Natasha Williams from TBR Smile On, Melissa Fung from the AHDRL Bullets, Tess Waterhouse from Smile On B. Oh, Smile On, just love them, don't you? Lisa Jane Lay from Raven Bees, Natalia Roja Jordan, and I would love to know what flag that is, from the AHDRL Bullets, Simone M from the Bullets, Julia Wood from TBR Smile On B, and Emily Swales from Smile On B.
Great racing from the women, and as you said, Anna, we will look to have some of those on screen next week. Now, we've got Corinne Dolan, who took the win for the Caramellos. Love the Caramellos. Gina Van Rossum, second from the herd of Wheelies. In third, we have Anna Chichigani from Tune Bike Works. Chicks in Nicks. Love good Chicks in Nicks. That sounds like chicks who ride bikes, my mob. Jodie Hamilton, she came in 4th for the Spin Mafia. That's a familiar name. Ross Wither, Hensa Semenko, another Tune Bike Works in 5th. Nikki Kurswell from the Caramellos in 6th. Kerry Humphreys from Raven Mad in 7th. Sophie Nightingale from the Caramellos in 8th. Naomi Sharp for the Chuppa Chups. I think that's a new team, Anna. I haven't heard of the Chuppa Chups before. I like it, though. Yeah. I don't know if you have them in New Zealand.
Oh, we do. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, well, there you go. Don't know if they're a worldwide thing, but they're damn good. Natalie Victor in 10th for TBR Smile On as well. So good to see the Smile On crew back for another year, Anna.
Isn't it? And we had just looks like 3 teams here in the D Cats. We've got Sadie Jones from the herd of Billibees, Andrea Robinson from AHDRL Dynamos, and Ellie Holzberg from the AHDRL Diamonds. So those are our results from race number 1.
So it's been great to start with a bit of a bang, Anna. I feel like, you've blown out a couple of cobwebs on that one with all of those intermediate sprints. Very different, as we discussed, profile next week in London. So we might see a few different riders come to the fore there, which sets up the season for a very, very good combination. I'm thinking maybe one of your small humans has wandered in to say hello, Anna. I've got one standing right next to me wanting to get in on the show.
This is actually a cat. Sorry, that my cat has jumped in through the window for some reason. So there we go. If it's not a small human, it's a cat. So fantastic.
They make similar noises. To everybody who tuned in, thank you very much for joining us. We will be back with Apac the same time next week. But of course, we've got this bookends all of the coverage for all of the different geographical regions coming up for this week 1. So we finish in America West tomorrow and have everything else in between. Tune into those for the Aussies and Kiwis if you can't sleep. There'll be plenty on through the night for you. Anna, thank you very much. And to our whole production crew, it's great to have everybody back. We'll see you next week, Anna. And good luck racing tomorrow. I'll be checking the results.
See you all.
Bye.
Okay.